I still remember exactly when I first truly noticed it. A therapist said it casually, between two sentences, without a second thought. Kids who grow up with a dog are just different from other kids. Not smarter, not quieter, not better behaved, just different. And the longer I thought about it, the clearer it became. She was right. It's not about dogs keeping kids busy or teaching them responsibility. It's about what blossoms in a child who is unconditionally loved every single day. Today you'll discover the skills that silently develop in these kids, day by day. By the end, you'll look at the people in your life differently, I promise you. It'll tell you soon which single ability sets them apart the most as adults. But first, let's get down on the floor, eye to eye with a dog. Because right there, on the floor, is where everything truly important begins. Just imagine. A child, only 3 years old, sitting on the living room floor. The dog walks over, simply lies down next to them, asking for nothing, demanding nothing. In that silent moment, the child learns something no book in the world could teach. They learn that true closeness is sometimes silent, yet remains completely whole and perfect. That simple presence is sometimes all a human being really needs. Psychologists call this nonverbal empathy, feeling what someone else feels without them speaking. Children with dogs develop this ability much earlier and deeper than any other kids. Not because the dog explains it to them, but because he shows it every day. He rests his head on their lap when the child is sad, without a single word. Without the child crying, without them explaining, the dog simply feels it. And the child understands. You don't have to be loud to truly be heard. That's the first difference, but it goes far deeper than you could ever imagine. Because dogs communicate 100% without a single spoken word. No sentences, no explanations, no apologies, only body language, a gaze, and breath. And kids who live with this creature daily learn to read this silent language effortlessly. They see when their dog is afraid, even when he remains completely silent. They notice when he is in pain, even if he doesn't make a single sound. They recognize joy from his posture, ears, and tail, long before he even barks. That might sound like a tiny detail, but it's actually anything but that. Adults who grew up with dogs as children read faces completely differently than others do. They notice when someone is smiling, but their eyes aren't in it at all. They hear when a voice says "I am fine," but the body screams something entirely different. They didn't get that from a textbook, a dog taught them that profound lesson. But there is something else, something hardly anyone ever wants to talk about openly. A child with a dog faces death much earlier than almost all other children. Not as an abstract idea, not as breaking news, but as a real, deeply personal experience. The dog who was there just yesterday is suddenly gone today, forever. And in that very moment, something happens that no parent can ever plan for their child. The child learns. Love doesn't just cease to exist simply because someone has passed away. They learn that grief isn't a weakness, it's the ultimate proof that something was real. Many adults fight their entire lives to truly allow themselves to accept and process loss. Children who have lost a dog carry this wisdom early and firmly within their hearts. They know. You can let someone go and still keep them deeply within your heart. That is one of life's hardest lessons, tenderly taught by a loving dog. And now comes something that truly surprises many parents, maybe even scares them a little. A long-term study from the University of Kuopio in Finland actually measured something remarkable. Children who live with a dog in their first year have measurably fewer respiratory infections. Their immune system is trained early through daily exposure to everyday germs and environmental factors. The result? Fewer colds, less antibiotics, and a much stronger defense system by school age. The child's body learns early how to handle the world, because their dog guides it. But the most important part isn't the immune system, as crucial as that might be. The most important thing is that the child learns through the dog. The world is safe. Whoever learns to trust early, finds it much easier to trust people their entire life. Now let's turn the whole thing completely around and look at it from another angle. So far we've seen what the dog pours into the child, silently, daily, without words. But what does the child pull from this relationship that they can't get anywhere else? Responsibility. The word sounds heavy for children, but it feels completely different to them. Not like a duty, not like a chore, but like, someone out there truly needs me. The child knows, if I don't feed him, he'll be hungry today, practically, not theoretically. If we don't go out, he'll sit alone for hours, right now, today, very specifically. This knowledge that their own actions directly affect someone else, is gold for a growing child. It is the absolute foundation of genuine compassion, and it grows daily, almost incidentally. While leashing, while feeding, while going outside, even when you really don't feel like it. But you might ask yourself, what happens when the child is actually overwhelmed for once? That's a valid question, and the honest answer is, yes, sometimes exactly that happens. The dog wants to play, the child is exhausted. Neither gives in, there is friction. And in that exact moment, something happens that parents rarely consciously plan or ever expect. The child learns to self-regulate, not to run away, but to pause and breathe deeply. They learn, I can deeply love someone and still need some space for a little moment. That sounds trivial to adults, but for children, it's nothing less than a total revolution. Because most adults only ever learn this difficult lesson during their very first serious relationship. Or not at all, and then they pay the bitter price for the rest of their lives. There is one final thing, and it's the one that personally moves me the very most. There's one ability that kids with dogs display most clearly as adults compared to others. Not empathy, not responsibility, something far more subtle and profound than both of those combined. The ability to simply be with someone, without helping, without talking, without trying to fix it. Just to be there, completely, without an agenda, without the inner urge to quickly intervene. That sounds easy, but most people simply cannot manage to do it. They can barely endure another's silence without immediately wanting to offer some piece of advice. Without saving the situation, without fixing the problem, without quickly jumping in to help. Children with dogs have practiced exactly this for years, without even knowing they were doing it. Sitting next to someone who is silent, says nothing, expects nothing, and yet being completely present. As adults, these are the rare people you go to when everything is truly falling apart. Not because they have the best advice, but because they can endure the heavy silence. Do you remember what I said right at the very beginning of this video? Kids with dogs are different. Now you know exactly what this difference truly means today. It's no coincidence, no random trait, it's daily learning, silently, right there on the floor. Every single time a child gently pets their dog, without the dog even asking for it. They practice care without expectation, the most noble form of love that exists in this world. Every time a child comforts their dog, without even knowing the reason for his quiet sadness. They practice empathy without proof, the deep trust that someone is suffering, even without spoken words. Every time a child has to say goodbye to a beloved dog who is no longer there. They practice the hardest thing in life, letting go entirely, without losing the love inside. Those are not small things, that is life itself, learned early and with absolute certainty. And now, very directly, think about yourself for a moment, about the child you once were. Are you someone who grew up with a dog? Then you know exactly what I am talking about. You remember the familiar smell, the warmth, the heavy weight on your legs in the evening. You know how it feels when someone is just there, without wanting anything in return. Maybe you didn't know that it shaped you so deeply, but now you finally know it. And if you grew up without a dog, then ask yourself quietly tonight, what would have grown deeper if someone had simply always been there? Without words, without condition. Children don't need a perfect dog, they need a real one, who is just always there. If you know someone who is currently thinking about bringing a dog into their child's life, send them this video, without any words, without any long explanation, just like that. Some decisions change an entire lifetime, silently, daily, on the floor, at eye level.